Today, tonight, he said. 12 days left. Insurance is sorted. Letters are written. Anna suspects nothing. That's my $500,000 insurance policy. Tomorrow, I'm checking if he actually changed something in the policy. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need advice, and I'm losing my mind. 3 weeks ago, I started noticing something strange about my husband's sleep talking. He's always been a light sleeper who mumbles occasionally, but this was different. He was having full conversations with himself, and they were terrifyingly specific. It started when I woke up around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. As I was getting back into bed, I heard him clearly say, 47 days, need to check the timeline again. I thought it was just random dream nonsense, but something about his tone made me stay awake and listen. For the next hour, he kept muttering fragments, alibi needs work, the safe combination, and she won't see it coming. The next night, I pretended to be asleep and listened more carefully. 46 days left. The insurance papers are in the drawer. Need to practice the story. My blood ran cold. What insurance papers? What story? I wanted to wake him up and demand answers, but something told me to wait and gather more information first. I started keeping a notebook by the bed, writing down everything he said in his sleep. Each night, the countdown continued. 45 days, check the bank account tomorrow. Make sure the timing is perfect. 44 days, the lawyer called back. Everything looks legitimate. 43 days, practiced crying in the mirror. Need to work on the grief. The pattern became clear. He was planning something for a specific date, exactly 47 days from when I first heard him. I calculated the date over and over, but it didn't correspond to any anniversary, birthday, or significant event I could think of. It was just a random Tuesday in March. During the day, he acted completely normal. We had our usual morning coffee together. He kissed me goodbye before work. We watched TV in the evenings. When I casually asked about his dreams or if he remembered saying anything in his sleep, he looked genuinely confused and said he never remembered his dreams. I tested him by asking about work stress, money concerns, anything that might trigger these nighttime confessions, but he seemed relaxed and happy. The really disturbing part was how detailed and organized his sleep talking became. 40 days. Called the florist. They can do the arrangements on short notice. Need to pick out a black suit. 39 days. Practice the phone call to 911. Voice needs to shake more. 38 days. Checked the security cameras. Blind spot confirmed. I started having panic attacks during the day. Every time he hugged me, I wondered if he was calculating how much force it would take. When he offered to cook dinner, I watched him handle the knives differently. The man I'd shared a bed with for 8 years suddenly felt like a stranger planning my death. But the worst part came 3 nights ago when he said those words about the insurance and using my name. I'd been Anna in his sleep conversations before, but hearing him say I suspected nothing while talking about insurance made everything real. This wasn't just paranoid overthinking anymore. I spent the entire next day at work researching our insurance policies online. We have a joint life insurance policy through his employer, but I discovered he'd taken out an additional policy on me 6 months ago. $500,000, with him as the sole beneficiary. When I called the insurance company pretending to verify our information, they confirmed the policy was active and all premiums were current. The timeline made sense now. 6 months to establish the policy and let any waiting periods expire. 47 days of detailed planning. A specific date that would look random to investigators. He'd been preparing for this for months, maybe longer. I haven't been able to eat or sleep properly. Every morning when he kisses me goodbye, I wonder if he's thinking about the countdown. Every evening when he asks about my day, I wonder if he's noting my routine for his plan. The man who used to feel like my safe harbor now feels like my biggest threat. Update 1. I can't believe I'm back here writing this, but things have gotten so much worse. It's been 5 days since my original post, and I'm barely holding it together. First, thank you to everyone who responded. Reading your comments helped me realize I wasn't losing my mind, and your advice probably saved my life. I've been following several suggestions, and the picture that's emerging is more terrifying than I imagined. I started by secretly recording his sleep talking with my phone. Having the audio made it easier to catch details I might have missed while frantically scribbling in the dark. The countdown continues every night. We're now at 7 days, and his planning has become incredibly specific. 2 nights ago, 7 days left. The hiking trail is perfect. No cell service for miles. Make sure she brings the thermos. That hiking trail comment made my stomach drop. He's been suggesting we go hiking lately, which was weird because he usually hates outdoor activities. Last weekend, he even bought new hiking boots and asked if I wanted to go on a romantic getaway to the mountains next week, the same week as his countdown. But here's where it gets really twisted. I don't think he's planning to kill me on that hiking trip. I think he's planning something else entirely, and the hiking trip is his alibi. I followed some advice from the comments and started checking his behavior more carefully. I found a spare key to his office that he doesn't know I have, and I went there during my lunch break yesterday. His computer was locked, but I found something much worse in his desk drawer. There was a folder with my name on it containing copies of all my medical records, our marriage certificate, and detailed notes about my daily routine. He'd been tracking what time I leave for work, which route I take, where I park, even what I typically eat for lunch. But the most chilling thing was a hand-drawn map of our neighborhood with X marks on several locations and times written next to them. I also found a receipt for a storage unit I didn't know about, rented 3 months ago. The address was across town, and the monthly fee was being automatically deducted from an account I didn't recognize. When I got home, I tried to act normal, but I was shaking. During dinner, he mentioned again how nice it would be to get away from everything next week, just the two of us in nature. He showed me pictures of the hiking trail on his phone, pointing out how secluded and peaceful it looked. We could leave Friday morning, he said, make a whole weekend of it. Friday. That's the day his countdown ends. That night, his sleep talking was the most detailed yet. 6 days. The storage unit has everything. Timing has to be perfect. Friday morning, she'll take her usual route to work. 8:47 a.m. She always stops at that red light. The truck will be waiting. I nearly screamed. He's not planning to kill me on a hiking trip. He's planning to kill me on my way to work Friday morning, while he's conveniently on a solo hiking trip with no cell service, establishing his alibi. The romantic getaway suggestion was probably Plan B in case Plan A fell through. I stayed awake the rest of that night, trying to process everything. The man lying next to me, breathing peacefully, had spent months planning my death down to the minute. He knew my routine so well that he could predict exactly where I'd be at 8:47 a.m. on any Friday. Yesterday, I drove past that intersection on my way to work, looking at it with new eyes. It's a busy 4-way stop with poor visibility around the corner. If someone wanted to cause an accident with a truck, it would be the perfect spot. High traffic, lots of witnesses to say it looked like an accident, but also chaotic enough that no one would see the details clearly. I called in sick today because I couldn't face driving that route. Instead, I went to the storage unit. I didn't have a key, but I walked around the facility trying to figure out which unit was his. There were security cameras everywhere, so I couldn't get too close, but I noticed there was a rental truck parked near one of the units. A big, heavy truck that could easily crush a small car. I'm writing this from a coffee shop across town because I'm afraid to go home. I keep thinking about all the little things that make sense now, how he's been extra affectionate lately, taking photos of us together, telling me how much he loves me. He's been saying goodbye without me realizing it. The worst part is that I still love him. Even knowing what he's planning, part of me can't believe the man who brings me coffee in bed every Sunday morning is the same person plotting my death. But the evidence is overwhelming, and those nightly countdowns don't lie. I don't know what to do. Going to the police seems obvious, but what proof do I have? Sleep talking isn't evidence of anything, and all the other stuff could be explained away. He could say he was planning a surprise, or that I'm having a breakdown, or that the insurance policy is just good financial planning. But I only have 5 days left to figure this out. Update 2. I'm shaking as I write this. It's been 3 days since my last update, and everything has exploded in ways I never expected. The countdown is at 2 days now, but that's not even the most terrifying part anymore. I decided to take some of your advice and confide in someone close to me. I chose my sister because she's always been practical and level-headed. I called her Tuesday morning and asked if I could come over to talk about something serious. When I told her everything, I expected her to think I was having a breakdown or to insist we call the police immediately. Instead, she got very quiet and asked me to repeat the exact dates and times I'd been hearing in his sleep talking. When I finished, she looked pale and said we needed to call our mom right away. Turns out, my family has been getting weird phone calls from my husband over the past month. He'd been asking casual questions about my childhood, my medical history, my relationships before we met. My mom thought he was planning some kind of surprise party or anniversary gift. My sister thought it was sweet that he wanted to know more about my past. But when she heard about the countdown and the insurance policy, she realized he'd been gathering information for something much darker. But here's the twist that knocked me completely off balance. My sister also revealed that our family has a history I never knew about. Our aunt died in a car accident 15 years ago under circumstances that were always suspicious to the family, but the police ruled it accidental. Her husband had also taken out a large insurance policy on her months before, and he remarried very quickly after her death. My sister had always wondered if there was a connection, but she'd never had any proof. Hearing about my situation brought back all those old suspicions. She asked if I'd ever met my husband's previous girlfriend, the one he dated before me. I told her he'd always said she moved away and they lost touch. We spent Tuesday afternoon doing internet research, and what we found made me physically sick. His previous girlfriend died in a car accident 4 years before I met him. She'd been on her way to work on a Friday morning when a truck ran a red light and killed her instantly. The truck driver was never found. It was a hit and run. The accident happened at 8:47 a.m. I felt like the world was spinning. This wasn't his first time. He'd done this before, and he'd gotten away with it. The insurance payout from his previous girlfriend probably helped him establish the comfortable life that attracted me to him in the first place. Wednesday night, his sleep talking confirmed my worst fears. 2 days left. Same plan as before worked perfectly. Truck is ready. 8:47 a.m. has always been the perfect time. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. 3rd time's the charm. Getting better at this each time. 3rd time. There had been someone before his previous girlfriend. Yesterday, I made a decision that terrified me but felt like my only option. Instead of running or going to the police with circumstantial evidence, I decided to catch him in the act. My sister wanted to call the FBI, but I convinced her to wait 1 more day. I had a plan. I've been pretending everything is normal. When he suggested we should both take Friday off for our hiking trip, I enthusiastically agreed. I told him I was excited for our romantic getaway and even helped him plan the route. He seemed pleased that I was so cooperative, probably thinking his plan was working perfectly. But I've been making my own preparations. I contacted a private investigator who specializes in insurance fraud and told him everything. He's going to be monitoring the storage unit and the intersection Friday morning with camera equipment. I also gave my sister copies of all my recordings and documentation, with instructions to give everything to the police if something happens to me. Most importantly, I won't be driving my usual route to work Friday morning. I won't be anywhere near that intersection at 8:47 a.m. Instead, I'll be safely hidden in the private investigator's surveillance van, watching to see if a truck appears at exactly the right time to kill someone who isn't there. If I'm wrong about all of this, the worst thing that happens is I waste some money on a private investigator and owe my husband a huge apology. But if I'm right, we'll have video evidence of attempted murder, and maybe we can finally get justice for his previous victims. The hardest part is lying next to him at night, listening to him plan my death while pretending to sleep peacefully. Last night he whispered, "One day left. She has no idea. This will be the easiest one yet." Then he rolled over and put his arm around me, like he was comforting the woman he planned to kill in 18 hours. I haven't slept in 3 days. Every time I close my eyes, I think about his previous victims and how scared they must have been in their final moments, probably never knowing what hit them. At least I have a chance to fight back. Tomorrow morning will either prove I'm paranoid and delusional, or it will expose a serial killer who's been living in my bed for 8 years. Either way, by tomorrow night, this nightmare will be over. Final update. I can barely type this. My hands are still shaking, and I keep expecting to wake up from the most horrible nightmare of my life. But it's real, all of it, and it's over now. Friday morning, I was hidden in the private investigator's van at 6 a.m., positioned where we could see both the intersection and the storage facility. I'd told my husband Thursday night that I was feeling sick and might not go to work Friday, but that he should still go on his hiking trip. He seemed concerned but not suspicious, kissing my forehead and telling me to rest. At 7:30 a.m., we saw him arrive at the storage facility. He was dressed in hiking gear, carrying a backpack, looking exactly like someone heading out for a romantic weekend getaway. But instead of loading hiking equipment, he opened a storage unit and drove out in a large pickup truck. The private investigator was recording everything. We followed the truck at a distance as it positioned itself near the intersection where I normally stop at 8:47 a.m. My husband parked in a spot where he could see the traffic light and accelerate quickly when it turned red. At exactly 8:45 a.m., a car that looked similar to mine approached the intersection. It wasn't me, it was just someone driving the same model car in the same color. But my husband couldn't tell the difference from his position. What happened next will haunt me forever. As the light turned red and the car slowed down, my husband floored the gas pedal. The truck shot forward at incredible speed, clearly intending to T-bone the driver's side at maximum impact. It would have been instant death, just like his previous victims. But the private investigator had called the police as soon as we saw my husband get in the truck. 2 patrol cars were already in position, and they intercepted him just before impact. The truck crashed into a concrete barrier instead of the innocent driver who had no idea how close they'd come to death. The arrest was chaotic. My husband seemed genuinely confused at first, like he couldn't understand why police were there. But when they read him his rights and mentioned attempted murder, something changed in his face. The mask slipped completely, and I saw a coldness in his eyes that I'd never noticed before. The storage unit contained detailed plans for my death, including maps, timing charts, and photographs of my daily routine. There were also files on his previous victims with similar planning materials. The police found evidence connecting him to at least 3 other deaths over the past 12 years, all women he'd been in relationships with, all killed in carefully staged accidents after large insurance policies were taken out. The most chilling discovery was a journal where he'd written about each murder like they were business transactions. He rated his performance, noted what worked well, and planned improvements for next time. He wrote about me like I was just another project to complete. Subject follows predictable patterns. Friday morning routine ideal for accident scenario. Insurance payout will fund next relocation. During questioning, he apparently showed no remorse and seemed more annoyed about getting caught than guilty about the murders. The detective told me he kept complaining that his plan was perfect and asking how they'd known to be there. When they told him about the sleep talking, he looked genuinely shocked. He had no idea he'd been confessing to his crimes every night. The scariest part was learning how long he'd been planning this. The police found evidence that he'd been researching me for over a year before we met. Our entire relationship was a setup. He'd chosen me specifically because I fit the profile of his ideal victim: financially stable, without close family nearby, predictable routines, and trusting nature. Every moment of our 8-year marriage had been fake. Every "I love you," every anniversary celebration, every time he comforted me when I was sad, it was all just him playing a role while planning my death. The police psychologist said this level of long-term deception and planning indicated someone with severe antisocial personality disorder who viewed other people as objects to be used. I've been staying with my sister since Friday. I can't go back to our house. Their house now, I guess. Everything there reminds me of the lie I was living. I keep thinking about all the nights I felt safe falling asleep next to him while he was literally dreaming about killing me. The media attention has been overwhelming. Apparently, insurance-motivated serial killing is rare enough that it's become a national news story. I've had reporters calling constantly, wanting to interview the woman who caught her husband planning her murder through his sleep talking. I'm not ready for that yet. The hardest part is the guilt. 3 women died because I wasn't there to hear his sleep talking earlier. If I'd known what to listen for years ago, maybe I could have saved them. The families of his victims have reached out to thank me, but I feel like I failed them by taking so long to figure it out. There's also this weird grief for the man I thought I married. That person never existed, but I'm still mourning the loss of 8 years of what I believed was love. My therapist says this is normal when you discover someone close to you has been living a completely false life, but it doesn't make it easier. The trial will probably take months, but his lawyer is already suggesting he'll plead guilty in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. Part of me wants him to get the maximum punishment, but another part of me just wants this to be over so I can try to rebuild my life. I'm safe now, and that's what matters. The private investigator probably saved my life, and possibly the lives of future victims. I'm trying to focus on that instead of all the what-ifs and should-haves that keep me awake at night. To anyone reading this who recognizes similar warning signs in their own relationship, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate it. Don't brush off strange behavior or assume you're being paranoid. I almost died because I spent too long hoping I was wrong instead of accepting what the evidence was telling me. The man who planned to kill me at 8:47 a.m. on a Friday morning is now facing life in prison. His countdown is over, and mine is just beginning.